Welcome to Sparking Success with Aaron Opalewski. Aaron brings you conversations that spark innovation, cultivate leadership skills, and pave the way for your business success. In each episode, we delve into the dynamic world of business and leadership, exploring strategies, insights, and success stories that fuel your professional journey. Everybody, welcome back to Sparking Success with Aaron Opalewski. My name is EJ. I'm your host, and I'm joined by my good friend, Aaron. Aaron, how are you today, man?
Great. New studio looks awesome.
Wow.
Amazing job, man.
Episode 13 for Sparking Success, and we're marking it by being in a brand new studio. The Spark Companies team, the Bolt Creative team, they've just done a great job, and I'm stoked to be in here. It's going to be a great season ahead. And today on the podcast, we're going to be talking about the art of negotiation in recruitment. And tell me why you want to share that with the folks who listen to each of the episodes and watch online.
Well, I mean, in recruiting, like this is the key thing that needs to happen to make a connection with a candidate and client. So we'll get right into it, but like the best thing you can do within like creating the art of negotiation and recruiting is to not have to negotiate that much.
Yeah.
So how do you do that though?
Yeah,
and
I think
we'll talk a little bit about.
Yeah, I love that because for some people they thrive, they love on that negotiation back and forth, and that's okay.
Oh, you should. You should love it,
right?
But what I love even more is when I'm able to nail it on the head in a situation right from the get-go.
Yeah, and some of the reasons that you're able to nail it, obviously, 15, almost 20 years worth of experience within recruiting, running a successful recruitment agency. Within that, you found a few things that really do make it an art within negotiation. And the first one of those is how you set up the initial, client conversation. Talk to us about that this morning.
Well, when you're talking to the client, like it's understanding as much as you can about the job that you're taking.
Yeah.
And not just that job in itself, but what's the culture of the company, what are the characteristics that you need kind of outside the intangibles to fit in, and then what's the career path options for someone. So I got to understand all that stuff to really be able to go out and pinpoint who's right, not just right now, but could also hopefully ascend within the company.
Got it.
Now, inversely, if it's a company that is kind of stagnant, but they provide good certainty, like, hey, this is going to be the role, and this is what we want. Like thinking of one that this comes up, like an office manager.
Right.
So an office manager, like, hey, we want an office manager, and we want someone that wants to be the office manager for the next decade.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Different scenario.
Right.
But really important to figure that out because you could have a great person for that, but they want to do that for like 6 months and ascend. And so,
that's a different placement.
It's a different placement.
Yeah, 100%.
Neither are wrong, but it's understanding. So that's a good place to start. Then you can kind of get into getting out and talking to candidates.
Yeah.
So part two.
So on the client side within in recruiting, you're getting ahead by figuring out all the details, everything from the available comp to what things look like within the office, what type of tasks they're going to perform, all those type of things. You're clearing that right out of the way. You're dialing that in so that when you start headhunting or you start recruiting for that specific position, and finding that candidate, right? There's two sides. People hear us talk about the client or the company, the organization that we're recruiting for, and then the candidates that we're bringing to them. Mm-hmm. As that happens, what really makes the beginning of this process so important on the candidate side?
Well, once you've done that, like with the client, and look, we're an agency recruiting.
Yeah.
So the best agency recruiters, they never recruit on one spot.
Right.
Like from a contingent standpoint, the best agency recruiter can recruit on like 30 spots at once.
Right.
Even if they're focused on one, they're aware of others. So there's the version of having everything dialed in on your one role that you're focused on,
mm-hmm.
but then an overarching understanding of other opportunities that you have, and maybe those companies' culture, their mission, their core values, the characteristics that they're always looking for, and skill sets that they're always looking for, and then pinpointing in these conversations that will kind of segue to, hey, like this person may fit for this, and then kind of digging into that more.
Got it.
So to the candidate side, if you have that information on the specific job that you're calling people on or trying to contact people on, if you have general information on a set of clients in that area or within that niche or sector, that's the makings of a great agency recruiter.
Okay.
Okay, so now we get on the candidate side.
Yep.
Well, once I'm armed with that, now I can have proper conversations.
Okay. What does that include? Like, what goes into the understanding there?
Well, to put it like specific but somewhat like quick, and we can go into it more. But
Yeah.
look, once I get to the candidate side, it's all about the candidate.
Okay.
I'm looking for people that I believe are going to match for the client.
Mm-hmm.
But then I need to talk to that candidate or get in touch with them. And as I'm doing that, it's all about them initially, because if it's not good for them, it won't be good for the client. We talk about win-win-win situations.
Yeah.
And so we're last
Right.
on that. We haven't even brought up and that's how it should be.
Yeah.
It's not, I need to fill this so I can make a commission. It is, okay, I have this information. This person looks good, or these people look good. I need to contact them, and then I quickly want to understand as much as I can about what they would be looking for in an opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
And we go from there.
Yeah.
So overarching, it flips immediately to what's going to be best for the candidate.
Okay.
Like this person looks like they have a lot of the things a lot of the characteristics and skill sets I'd be looking for. I don't know if they match the culture and all that stuff yet, but like off to a good start. Let's go try and get to a discovery call. And I am doing that, but in the process of that, it starts with what's best for them.
Okay, so walk me into the discovery call, because that's a huge part of the negotiation. So you're understanding what on the client side. Is it why they want to make a move? Are they, what do you go after?
A lot of times, yes, we're going to use all the tools to, you post jobs and you have people respond and they're interested, and I'll call that more of a warm lead. It's not really headhunting. You're like gathering candidates and facilitating these conversations, and you still want to be really good at everything we're talking about. But like a couple notches before that would be hunting down passive candidates.
Okay.
And so someone that maybe they don't even know they're looking, but you interact with them, you engage with them, and they're open to a conversation, or you get them on the phone, right? And you start talking to them about what's going on. So a good engaging question when I get someone on the phone and I'm calling them out of the blue is, hey, I'm working on this role. I see that you have the experience and it looks like you have a great track record within the industry. Who do you know that would be interested in this? Mm-hmm. And then I might go into this. It's a way for me to segue in. Like, look, good people know good people.
Yeah.
And if they then engage with me and say, hey, tell me more, I may be interested, boom, green light, like let's go. If they don't do that, but they refer me to someone, that's also great. Either way, like let's say they refer to me, I can follow that up and ask, like, hey, how are things going where you're at? And so there's a lot of things we can do.
So when you get into those questions, you're looking to understand what?
Well, a lot of times conversation might go like this with someone. If we're having some general thing and there's like, I'm just calling them cold, right?
Yeah.
They're like, yeah, like, okay. I'm like, well, like, what do you got? Like, tell me a little bit about it. Well, here's the role. Like, who do you know? And they're like, they're not going to give you all their names probably up front. Some people will. They'll be like, hey, call this person.
Right.
Yes, sir. Like, let's do it. But someone will be like fish for a little more information, and they're generally interested, or they'll say something like, hey, like I would be interested if the situation looks right. Another great, like, that's the type of question I need. And I don't lead with, okay, well, here's the comp, and what are you making right now? And is it $5,000 more? Like, that could get to it getting done. But when someone tells me that, say, hey, that's a great question. Why don't we focus on you? Because I love your skill set. I feel like within this situation, if we could get it right, we would have a match.
Yeah.
But I need to know more about what does that role look like for you that like you're happy where you're at, it sounds like.
Yep.
What would it look like for you to make a move? What would have to happen? Sometimes conversations end there because it gets like, hey, they're making 100 in comp, and they're like, well, if you can get me 200 in salary, and the role, it's a mechanical engineer, and it's 3 to 5 years of experience, and they want double the going rate,
Just doesn't
at
yield
like
it.
the 90th percentile of the comp within that market right now. Well, not Santa Claus, right? I can't make things, I can't make roles come out of thin air at double what the compensation should be.
Yeah.
That's not what we do. So I'm not going to be able to do that and say, hey, like how you handle something like that would be, look, here's what I'm seeing in the market.
Mm-hmm.
Not saying that, like, if you could get that somewhere, like, more power to you.
Yeah,
I've
do it.
yet to see a spot come past my desk, in the last 2 years.
Yeah.
And markets change, but in the last 2 years where I've come anywhere close to that.
Mm-hmm.
So, appreciate your time, but, I don't know that I'll be your best resource on that. I'll mark it.
Yep.
Because anything can happen.
Now, when you say market,
Yeah. In their profile.
yeah, so you're taking really good notes off the front end on what the client's needs are, but you're also in the candidate side really taking good notes because that is part of the negotiation to understand exactly what they're doing or what they need.
Yeah, I got to build out their profile, and as we're going through this stuff, so let's say I got someone that's interested and they're being reasonable, right? Like they're painting a picture that hey, here's what I'd be looking for.
Yeah.
And it's a bump in pay, but that would be part of it, right? But a lot of times it comes more down to maybe they're at a place and it's great, but let's stick with engineering, right? They're a mechanical engineer, and the engineering manager there is in their 40s and doesn't plan to leave and doesn't plan to retire in the next 20 years or so.
Yeah.
And like there's just like, hey, like I like it here, but there's not, like, it's a great place and this person loves their role, and they're going to be in that role for what looks to be a long time. I don't really see the opportunity to take that next step here. So I'd be open if there's a situation where I can either go into that next step, or maybe you got another company that's in a different situation. Maybe they have someone on that back half stage and they're looking to bring someone in that has the acumen over the next couple of years to become that next engine. Like, well, now I'm on to something, right?
Yeah.
But I got to listen to what their needs are, what their situation is. I'm probably going to have to make the comp situation favorable. I need to learn all about this stuff and then assess, do I have a situation that could feed what their needs are?
Yeah,
and
so
in that example, it's additional career path.
Yeah, so you're going from finding out what the needs are, then you're taking that to the point of evaluating whether or not it fulfills the need.
And to sum it up, I want to learn as much about that as early as possible, right? Because the better I do with nailing what exactly it would be, like, hey, like even getting into like up front before submittal to the client, like, hey, like we're going through this. It's probably more than one call at this point, but maybe it is one call. But we're going through this. We've talked through all this. Like, you're a valued part of the team that you're on. I have to imagine that they might make you a counter offer. Mm-hmm. Let's talk through it before we even submit you.
Yeah.
Now, most people don't do that. They do this in this. You get an offer. They notify their employer, or they think about it and they want to go talk to their employer. Great person gets a counter offer, and pretty good recruiter at that point will start dropping data on how counter offers work and all this stuff, and data can be skewed to your favor. And I understand the stats. Like, they're not very good in most instances of where someone accepts a counter offer, or when you look out over like a 3-year snapshot.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't look very good. However, personally, I know, like, within our organizations where that has been something that we've done in some instances, and the people have done it, like, we haven't like blacklisted them to go out of the company. So I think it totally depends on the situation. And I'd want to be very careful from just a core value standpoint of like pushing a generalized stat on any situation. So I might bring up that these are the stats, but I've also seen some good stuff with that too. So I don't know enough about I can't speak to your current situation, but I think you should think about that like within the process of this. So a good recruiter will do that, or a pretty good recruiter will do that in the like after an offer stage, and they go back and forth. I want to do that before we even submit to the client. I just want to put them in the scenario. And like, look, we might still actually get to the scenario, and it could change because then it's real life. But, if that's you're that, hey, EJ, you've been here 3 years. You started your career here. You've grown. You're telling me that, that the comp bump would be nice that we may be able to do. And the drive's closer to your house. Notice how I'm bringing up all the reasons that make this other role better. The drive's closer to your house. And, they have a situation where I can't guarantee you the job. It's not my decision. But part of what they're looking for is someone that can grow within their organization. And they do have a situation where their leader is going to be retiring in the next couple of years.
Got it.
Or maybe it's a company that's bigger and they have multiple promotions available to so there's just that.
You've got all that.
Yeah.
That on the.
So I'm going to state this stuff through.
Yeah.
Well, hey man, we're all human. No one loves change.
Yep.
And everyone wants to be wanted. And so you're in a situation that you really like, and they'd love you there, it sounds like, which I can see why. How are you going to handle this? There's no wrong answer, but just talk through this with me.
Yeah.
I would imagine they're going to counteroffer. So walk me through that up front, because we can't control everything about that. And look, you got to do what's best for you and your family.
Yeah.
But what my role in this is, I'm working for you and I'm working for the client, and I'm trying to make a match. And within reason, I'm trying to figure out what we need to do. And this is just part of the conversation. If we can have this conversation up front and figure out what kind of just makes this hey, there's no real situation where they can come back and counteroffer unless they do something, crazy. And I just, couldn't say no. There's really no situation that I'm going to accept that counteroffer if, remember, they haven't interviewed yet.
Yep.
If I interview, they love me, I love them, and we vibe.
Yeah.
I feel like I fit within the culture, the mission, what we're doing. But again, we're talking about, because we know about that, because we prepared, we're going through some of that with them up front. Now, ultimately, they still have to have that connection. But the more you know about it, and you're listening to what they want, and you're assessing if that matches, it's like they got the skill set. They're going to match from a culture standpoint. They're saying the same things. This person is craving and needing growth, and they're very grateful and appreciative and happy with their current employer. Their current employer just can't create the situation that this other one can. It's something that they're desiring in their life.
Yeah.
And we can get them more comp, and it's closer. We're
Yeah,
going through,
you have the list.
Through all that stuff. So the better we can make that list within reason. And so we do all that up front. So maybe that's a couple more calls with you. Then we submit. Then it gets to offer. Then it comes through. Then the counter offer happens. And hey, we talked about this. The conversation is a little different because we're prepared.
Yeah.
Now, it doesn't mean that you're not going to consider it more. But hey, okay, what'd they come back with? We went through it all. Let's say I nailed you down to hey, the only way that I could even consider, if we're able to do this and I get in there and I feel like I click with them, man, they'd have to come back at 50% higher.
Yeah.
And that would be a crazy situation. I don't know that I've ever seen that happen. Maybe once or twice. We almost kind of created that promotion, inside of.
Yeah.
Okay. So
hopefully that guy sends you a check.
Yeah. So they come back. Well, yeah. So they come back and we come back to that and it's like, yeah, like, okay, we knew we were here. What'd they come back with?
Yeah.
Okay, that, we kind of talked through that. You're still feeling the same way as when we talked through that. What, shut up for a second, listen.
Mm-hmm.
If there's any uncertainty at all, it's, hey, I get this. It's a life decision. You're changing the trajectory of someone's life. It affects their family. Like, these are big decisions. So your EQ's got to be high on, like, look, no one likes to take that jump. There's part of it that's uncomfortable. We walked through this. We got everything. Like, it's awesome that I look at that as a great, like, you can do all the reference checks in the world.
Mm-hmm.
I want to see that because that's like the actual reference check. And sometimes when I'm talking to the client, I'll explain that in the process. Like, yeah, they got this. But we prepared for this. And here's what, I'm giving them 24 hours or we're giving them 48 hours. But here's how you got to look at this. Those references we sent you?
Mm-hmm.
This is like the extra actionable reference check that they want this person. They do not want to lose them.
Yep.
You should feel, I know you want the person and you don't want to have to go, but you should feel good about this right now because this is verifying what we've already seen throughout this process. It's just another step within that.
Yeah.
So, but a lot of times in that whole thing, because we role played it and went through the scenario, and a lot of times we role play it more aggressively than what actually happens, done deal.
Got it.
So, good recruiter
Mm-hmm.
is now just starting that process. And they are going to think about it, and they should, because they haven't thought about it yet. Or they have a little bit, but they haven't talked it through with you. And so when you've talked it through with me, you feel a little more responsibility to, like, hey, we did kind of already go through this.
Right.
And he's acknowledging that now it's real.
Mm-hmm.
And he's not pushing me, but you kind of almost self-push, like, hey, we did already go through this.
Yeah.
So do I need a week to make this decision?
Right.
Maybe, but probably not. Like, again, a lot of times we literally can just do it right there on the phone. So that extra 20-minute conversation, 30-minute conversation saved me a week.
Yeah.
So you want me to create time for you as a recruiter.
Mm-hmm.
You invest the 20 minutes up front. Not only is that good an investment just from the overall time, but it's treat people how you want to be treated. Mm-hmm. If you were on the other side, you wouldn't want we're going through this, and if at any point in that process we just deem that there's scenarios that don't make sense, like, look, hey, yeah, if they counteroffer me, like, there's a good chance I'm going to stay.
Mm-hmm.
Like, people aren't going to tell you that. Like, they're not going to open it up. Like, well, it's all about how you make them feel, how you ask your questions, your tone. Are you actually legitimate that you're okay if you don't make the sale? And, like, what I mean by that is the placement. Like, EJ, I want to make this placement, but I know it's only going to work out long term. Like, I'm not just making this placement, with this client. I want to make multiple placements. I'm thinking ahead. I want to fill this spot and find the person that becomes the manager, because guess who hires the additional engineers?
People. Yeah.
And I've been doing this where this is the story on one of the ways that we build business is just by doing great business with people and making great connections and doing this in an elevated way where people can tell that we're being thorough about it and thinking about the big life decision that they're making. And when they get elevated, who are they calling?
Yeah.
They're calling me.
Yep.
They're not calling the recruiter that calls them and say, hey, I got something for $10,000 more. Like, you want me to sub you?
Mm-hmm. Transactional.
Yeah. I don't even have to do anything else. Just take care of the person.
Yeah.
Invest the time.
Yep.
Then back to present day, that 20 minutes is much quicker. What's quicker? An extra 20 minutes with that candidate. Not every single person I talk to, but someone viable that I think I'm going to move through the process.
Yep.
That 20 minutes or waiting a week for them to make this decision.
Yeah, the 20 minutes
and maybe
is totally worth it.
multiple 20-minute combos, So that's it.
Yeah.
That's why we do this. The better you do this up front, the less you negotiate.
Yeah.
Now, if you get into the negotiation part, have some fun with it, man.
What do you mean by that?
Well, I compare it to you watch these real estate shows.
Yeah.
And the realtor, they're going, like, they make an offer. They're like, okay, they call the other, realtor, and they're like, nope, that's too low. Like, it's got to be this, and they're going back and forth. I kind of, it's the same thing. Like I just kind of look at it like we're in that world.
Yeah.
And okay, we got to get this done. We got to do what's right for everybody in the process. But let's have some fun with it.
Yeah.
So, and when there's multiple offers and stuff going on with a great candidate, a little bit different scenario, but like, let's say they have 3, okay, I know that someone that's maybe actively looking, that's great. They're not going to have just one offer. Most likely they're going to have multiple. Mm-hmm. So I want to be the same scenario as quick as I can get them to open up to me about what they have going on and get them to understand, look, like, I just want you to take the best role.
Yeah.
And that might be counter, like, yes, I want my role to be the best, but I can't control everything about that. If you have a better role out there for you, like, more power to you. And maybe you could help me make a connection to that company as well, and that'd be awesome. Different time, but again, you can flip those things too. But I want mine to be the best, but the only part I can control within that is understanding what you want. Mm-hmm. And the more you tell me about other things that you have going on, I'm not even telling you just because, hey, this person will, this company will pay me $170 and your offer's at, $150. Mm. And, I might not be able to just go up to 170, match it, or go to 170. Like, if I can, I can, or, again, but it's not like, hey, like, they're offering me a little bit more PTO, or, hey, they were flexible on this, or this is closer. So, like, I got, like, you have to just listen. And then my question's always like, dude, just shoot me straight. Like, if you got 4 scenarios you're considering, where do I sit right now? Because I can't promise you that I can make my number one.
Yep.
But there are things I can control in this. And the more I understand up front, the more I have the ability to do that for you, which is ultimately what you want. So I can't promise you that I can do it, but I can promise you I'm going to try my best to make my situation your number one choice.
How important is that? How important is that in, this art of negotiation within it? Is understanding really where you lie with the client.
This is,
the candidate. Yeah.
This is how you get the best candidates.
Got it.
You have to understand, like, it's either an ego thing or like a avoidance of reality thing. But when you are talking to you see a great person. Mm-hmm. You don't think there's other people that are seeing that great person and hunt them down and want to talk to them. And they are marketable. Yeah. They are in demand. Mm-hmm. Just embrace it. Yeah. Like, there's, everyone loves to be complimented. Sure. Like, I go in assuming, like, man, like, you look great for this role I have. Yeah. Like, your resume's up. How many offers you got already? Yeah. Like, so, like, I'm going to get that. I'm not going to be like, hey, tell me, like, you have to do it in a way to, like, but like, hey, look, I got nothing else going on. Dude, okay, if that's the case, but I'm shocked to hear that because, like, you look amazing for these types of roles. Yeah. I'm shocked to hear that. I know it's the first time we're talking, but I just got to tell you, like, if you're at all standoffish, like I would assume you if you just started the process, like, you're going to have multiple scenarios where people are going to make you offers. And I'm totally cool with that because I can't control if my opportunity is the best for you or not. I'd like to learn more about it and learn more about you and see if it potentially is. And ultimately, like, I want to just learn more about, like, what would make, like, the best scenario for you. Or if you have some scenarios, the more you'll be open with me, the more I'll try and, if we're close, because a lot of times we are, if there's anything I can do to move ours up the ladder, that's my job here. That's what I'm going to try and do. And if I can't do it, I'm just going to tell you. And if you take another role, like, dude, awesome, more power to you. It's actually better. Like, the more I know about that, the more I can kind of create soft landings around that. And, I've seen situations where someone doesn't take a job. They do this well on communication within the process. And a couple of years later, they go over and work at that place where they made an offer. Interesting. I've also seen where people kind of don't navigate the best. And I don't care. I got thick skin. Like, I would talk to them again and re-go through it and work with them. But where we've submitted someone years later to a client again, and they're like, this person didn't accept this offer from us and they drug us along we didn't like the way they did it. We're not considering them. And I'm like, and again, like, you try and maybe it's valid. Maybe you can try and save that still, but like, it's all like, hey man, like, I'm on your team in this. I can't speak for other recruiters or anything like that, but look, I'm going to do everything I can to make this the best, but I understand that you're marketable and in demand, and I may not be able to do that. I want you to have a good experience with me. I want you to be happy wherever you go. I will work my ass off to make it be the thing that I have, because here's what I like about what we have. But I'm sure there's other good opportunities out there too that I don't have access to at the moment.
Yeah.
So let's just talk about it, and I'm going to do everything I can to make mine the best.
Wow.
That's it. It's what we're doing.
You know, there's some of these things that I think are so profound, and then there's others of them that I just sit back and it's like, if you listen to each of these episodes on Sparking Success, you will literally come away with not the theory, but the roadmap to do these things, to get better people within your organizations, to have better relationships with recruiters. And that's what I love about this.
Yeah, we're talking about this from like the agency recruiting lens.
Yeah.
So this is like gold for any agency recruiter.
100%.
It just is. Like, but let's say you're in TA, or hey, if you own a company, or you run a department, you own the company, you better be the number one recruiter for that company. These are great concepts on how you're talking and engaging with people. You're running a unit. These are great concepts on how you would talk to people and engage with people and think about it. And it's like, hey, would I want to be treated that way in that process? Have I worked with the recruiter? Did it go that way? Probably not. Would I have liked for it to go that way? Would that person be more memorable to me? Yeah. Well, okay. Like, let's say I get the chance to hire one person for my area. Well, great. You can put all your energy and focus and effort into that. Man, like, here, take some of those nuggets, because if the situation was reversed, you'd probably want to be treated that way.
That's right.
And so that's the focal fundamental point of this is do that. And we have the responsibility to do that for the client. We're their partner. We got to try and get them the best person that is aligned with what they want to do. And again, we're talking through a pretty technical example.
Yeah.
Let's go to an entry-level job on this for a couple seconds.
Okay.
Entry-level job. Yeah, you might have someone that does the job for a season.
Yeah.
I still want to know about the career path and ascension, and how, do people get promoted within the company? Because if I find someone that just wants an opportunity and a foot in the door, and would love to just grow with a company and be in that type of environment, like the entry-level volume labor type positions can be very transactional.
Okay.
But if I still do that and understand this stuff about what the company does, or like, hey, like, you can go from entry-level job to an apprentice to a skilled trade to a supervisor to a plant manager to and here's some stories and examples of where they've done this at this company. Well, when I understand, I'm not going to do that maybe with every candidate that we place there, but when I find someone that you hear anything where they're craving that, like, well, there's more to talk about. And as you know, we have some good stories on where people ascend like that.
Definitely.
So it's not like you can apply this in all areas of as it relates to talking to people about taking a position.
Wow. Well, Aaron, again, a ton of wisdom today. Thanks for just walking everybody through that. I think the simplicity of that matched with the details that you gave unlocks a ton of opportunities for both people who are agency recruiters, who are unit leaders like you talked about, or business owners. I think one of the key things that I heard you say today, I'll just kind of recap with a couple. One, get into the details, the nitty gritty of both A, what the client needs, and B, what the candidate is actually looking for. Will it fulfill both parts of it? The second thing I heard you say almost just a minute or two ago is if you own the agency, if you own the business, you got to be the number one person doing this.
And look, any agency recruiter, like, you're entrepreneurial. You should be treating it as your own business. So
That's
it
right.
applies for, and the ones that do that, those are where you find your $1 million plus billers, your contest winners, your long-term successes, the people that come with that mindset.
Yeah, I love it. Well, today on Sparking Success, obviously, we've talked about the art of negotiation. And if you would love more information either within that or maybe some of the past episodes that we've been able to produce, we'll tie back into this. We'll list those down in the show notes to be able to give you more fuel to spark your success as well. Aaron, thanks again today for sharing the wisdom. If you haven't liked and subscribed, if you haven't left us a review, whether it be on Spotify, Apple, YouTube, go ahead and do that right now. That'd mean the world to us. And we hope that you'll tune in to an episode ahead that is dropping. And today, this is a great one to share with people. I think more and more people need to hear it. So, Aaron, thanks again. We hope you guys have a great day.
Thanks, EJ.